Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grace Notes, the community affairs TV show with Supervisor Michael Grace that you can see here every week. And also, we're going to be getting the shows up on the town website. And there are Grace Notes shows you can see right now on the pennysavercommunity.com website, the YouTube channel called NCN Local TV. And Supervisor, I know we want to talk about, this is the first show after the fall. Well, first show in the fall, right, after Labor Day, right, after a little summer hiatus. And of course, as always happens, there's all kinds of events coming up, like every week, right? It's chock-a-block with a lot of town events.
And if you're a golfer, I guess there's a lot of golf.
A lot of golf, yeah, as we know, right.
There's the DeVito outing on, I think, on the 20th.
20th, yeah.
Mother Claire's got her.
That's the St. Mary's?
Yeah.
Is that, not St. Mary's. That's the end of the month, I think. I believe it is. Yeah, at the end of the month. I mean,
there's another one on the 10th or the 11th. I don't know.
Well, there's a St. Mary's. I have. Oh, no, you're right. September 17th.
Chuckle from the cameraman here.
September 17th is the St. Mary's Outreach and Community Food Pantry Golf Outing. That's the one.
That's Mother Claire.
That's Mother Claire, right?
Yes.
Well, we know we've had on the show. And that's at, of course, we know well, Hollowbrook.
Yeah, great course.
We donated some balls over
yeah.
there, right? Yeah, right.
I like playing that course.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a nice course. And then, so anyhow, this week we have the Grange Fair, right? This weekend.
Right, and then we have the
September 6th to 9th.
And last night at the board meeting, we authorized at least 3 officers for overtime to allow them to have the tractor parade on Commerce Street.
Which is on Saturday, isn't it? Saturday?
Yeah, at 11 o'clock.
Saturday, yeah.
I might pull out. I got an old tractor.
Yeah, you should bring it out. Yeah. Roll over some. Anyhow, September. Then, of course, we have, as you very eloquently said, a profound day in American history, 9/11, the memorial, right?
Yeah, and I encourage. It's over at the 9/11 memorial, which is in front of the Shrub Oak Library.
Right.
John C. Hart Memorial Library, and I encourage people to come. It's a small venue, so in terms, it's one of our smaller venues where we do these things. But I believe Father Augustin's coming from St. Patrick's Church. I think Mother Claire's also going to be there. But I think it's to me it's a very solemn day. I actually grew up on Staten Island, and a lot of my buddies were on in the fire department.
Right.
A lot of guys I went to high school with, and so it was a lot of funerals that fall, and I think it's I think it is a very profound day in American history.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most profound, and we all have to figure ways that we commemorate it and memorialize those people that had been sacrificed.
Yeah, and as you said, of course, as in many towns in the New York area, several Yorktowners were lost.
Yeah.
In the World Trade Center on 9/11 as well.
Yeah, and it continues to be our loss.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't, we easily forget these things, or the profundity of them, and that's the reason why you have these ceremonies, to make sure that we don't.
Right.
And none of what any of us do makes any difference if we don't have our freedoms and we don't protect our country's security.
Right.
So it's and these people gave their lives no less than all the soldiers and servicemen have since to protect ourselves, protect our country and our freedom. So it's a very important day, and I think it's very important to educate our youth on it and the people hopefully we'll have a good turnout.
People will come out. Yeah. And that reminds me, that famous quote by George Santayana about those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it.
No, it's.
So you have to remember.
I think if you reflect back into what post 9/11, even pre 9/11, what the state of affairs were. I think we've unfortunately we've gotten lazy about these things again. I know this is a show about local politics, but there's tensions in the Middle East between Iran and Israel, and You know, there's a lot of that's spilling over into the national politics at this point in time as to what stance we're taking, where we're standing on those things, and I'll echo a lot of what I heard with the memorial for David Fahey, which was a really nice ceremony over at Patriot Gardens, and his father. You know, we can't be so blasé about the fact that there's real evil in the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we can't, we always try to, I think a lot of what the media does and what we do is we always try to rationalize outrageous acts.
Right.
We try to give them reason or try to understand underlying motivation for them or what spurs them on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, rather than accepting, what there is truly just evil in the world.
Right.
And it does exist. And we can't be namby-pamby about it. We have to have courage. We have to stand up to it because otherwise we'll suffer. If we don't. And it's a there is this spiritual dichotomy between good and evil. It exists,
right.
And we can't be PC it to believe that it doesn't, because it does. And I think that Mr. Fahey made that point very clear, and we have that duty to be vigilant about it on every day. And everything that we do, we always have those options. We always have choices between the right thing and the wrong thing. But every day we're confronted by it, and we have to be vigilant about it. We can't Oprahify it as to to something. What is this? Some rational. Try to rationalize it, because we can't.
Or glamorize it. That's what happens. Also, it gets glamorized.
Yeah,
as if it's something you should aspire to. That's what's crazy about it. And there's that expression, the banality of evil. It's nothing. It's not glamorous.
Right. And one of the worst thing to be about it is lukewarm too.
Right. That's right. No, you're right.
This milquetoast kind of approach to it is a big mistake.
Yes.
Yeah. We have we have to reaffirm in what we believe, and what and we have to live the truth.
Right.
As well, as difficult as that sometimes is.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's a very good point, and timely with 9/11 upon us. And then with a political note, September 13th is the primary election, right, for Republicans, conservatives, and the Green Party.
Right, and Assemblyman Steve Katz is
in the
primary, and I'm going to go out. I plug him. I've worked very well with Steve Katz. I think his type of leadership in the Assembly is very important to the town of Yorktown.
Right.
We've started, I think my administration, we're taking on some fairly large-sized initiatives, 202, relocation of the highway garage, and other things that really are where we're pushing back and looking to the state to return back some of our tax money locally to help, finance these projects. I've got a tremendous amount of help from Steve Katz. We actually met very early on in the administration with Steve up in Albany with representatives of DOT in terms of issues with the renovation of the Jefferson Valley Mall. So he facilitated that.
Right.
And it's important for people to know. I mean, there's obviously in any political race there's rhetoric and there's hyperbole and everything else, but the bottom line is Steve's worked tirelessly for his constituency. And I've witnessed it firsthand, and I have great admiration for him. So I wish him well. And it's the same thing. You got the general election coming up later, and Greg Bull last night came across with some grant money, and he's works very zealously and tirelessly for the his constituents as well. So we have two very good state representatives right now, which we should be very proud of. So I'm going to hopefully that it's Thursday's primary day.
Because of 9/11, right, on a Tuesday. Yes.
Right, and actually. The 9/11, the original 9/11 was Tuesday because it was primary.
Yes, I remember that well. Yeah, that's right.
So, anyhow, I encourage people to go out and vote. It's a very important thing to do, and you've got as far as I'm concerned, we have an assemblyman that I think we would like to see get back in there and continue his good work. And
yeah, and by the way, we also should point out that all of these events are on the YorktownNY.org town website. And in the case of the primary, if you're registered with one of those parties and you can vote, it lists all the locations.
Yeah, it's
there were some new locations.
Republican, Conservative, and Green Party.
Right. And there are some new locations, so you should check out, which polling place you need to go to. September 15th, the Mohegan Volunteer Fire Association is having its 90th anniversary and parade.
Right.
And then we mentioned the St. Mary's Golf Outing on the 17th. It's something I picked up that we should just mention because it's very much in the news is the Hart Library, which is part of the Westchester Library System, and they have great programs there, very helpful, informative programs for people. On September 20th, there is a program about the new Affordable Health Care Act that people from the Pace Women's Justice Center are going to talk about, so you might want to check that out. And then here's something both of us may be at on September 29th. The Yorktown Rotary Best and Worst WURST beer tasting fundraiser at Croton Point Park. Yeah. I don't want to tempt you. Both of us may be there. Yeah. So that's a nice. The Yorktown Rotary does a great job all together with community service. So if you can support them on the 29th and have some beer in the process, that would be great. And then, of course, we were talking about now it's become one of the biggest, if not the biggest, annual event in Yorktown, the Street Festival, which the Chamber and Chamber President Joe Visconti have done a great job with.
Right. And and hopefully we'll be there. And we're just discussing, so everybody knows. One of our shows may be live from and we'll invite the public to come in and sit down, talk to us, and whoever else is around. So
yeah, that would be great. Yeah, so you might want to look for us right there in the middle of all the activity. And I'll put in a quick plug for our Harrison Apar Field of Dreams YAC Golf Classic the next day, the 8th, and we're having Tommy John and Howard Johnson. That'll be fun. Another golf outing. And then on the 20th, you'll see on probably our next show, Jeff Veach of the Justin Beach Fund and Tom Ianacari.
Right.
And they came up with this great fundraiser for that foundation with Bernie Williams at the Paramount.
Right. And when that's in October, right?
October 20th, yeah.
Right.
And so there's a lot of stuff more than ever going on in Yorktown. And I know, Supervisor, you want to talk about some of the things that were on the town board agenda last night. And then
apropos with with all these events, one thing, one recent event I did go to was the Augie Steakhouse golf tournament for autism.
Speaks, yeah.
And they raised a lot of money, I think $65,000.
Yeah,
and so.
Something.
But last night, I guess it came up, I can't remember the exact context in which it did, but the bottom line is that one of the things that my administration is looking to do is really to encourage, the new businesses and to have the businesses that are here thrive. And one of the reasons is best illustrated by the Augie's, event, because here's a guy he's a smaller steakhouse. He just opened up the second floor of it.
Right.
And these are the guys that are out there. And I think a lot of these guys were also from the Doc James cigar shop crowd. But they're the work that our businesses do in terms of organizing and putting together charitable events and raising money for charity is absolutely awesome.
Yes.
As witnessed by what Augie's was able to do.
Right.
So when we look at businesses coming into town, one of the things that doesn't come under the seeker review, so to speak, of these types of intangibles. So you have to realize that every time you bring in a new business into town, it's welcoming in a new Yorktown, a new citizen, and one that really contributes to the vibrancy of the town, as well as economic health. So I try to make a point to get that point across.
And you do. You do a very good job with pointing that out. Yeah.
Because I think that has to be understood. I mean, there's a lot that we get out of of commercial businesses and enterprises in town besides just base tax dollars, et cetera, et cetera. So it's,
And by the way, speaking of, it's relevant to your point, Supervisor, that Doc James, which is in Shrub Oak, he's expanding his location.
Right.
I mean, so he's doing well, which is great. I mean, not everybody smokes cigars, and maybe some people think that you shouldn't smoke too many cigars, but it's something a lot of us get enjoyment out of. And Adam DeCiena, the owner, does a great job. It's sort of like a social club, really. I mean,
yeah, well, I mean, these are this is what makes life interesting.
Right.
We all have our passions, and some of them, some of them very esoteric. Although smoking cigars may not be so esoteric, but everybody, we all have our. I mean, it's fun to see what people's passions are. It's also fun to see, what people's passions are in terms of their charitable work, such as yours included.
Sure.
So this was what makes a community. And businesses and new businesses that want to locate isn't us against them.
Right.
It's really not. We're all. I know we do kumbaya. I'm going to break out into kumbaya, but we're all together in this. And I think that's what those are the things that shouldn't be overlooked. Too often overlooked. We're hopeful that we're going to get good investment of very good business enterprises within the town of Yorktown over the next couple of years. We've been working very hard to do that and promote it and lay the groundwork for it. There's a lot of distractions over the last couple of months of stuff that just doesn't. It's just time-consuming, distracting, and of little value. The controversy of the cleaning up of the Holling Sporting Club. It was done. The tanks were removed. I mean, it just to kind of kick that dead horse after a while just gets to be a little tiresome. DPW had a big distraction over that for a long period of time. Everything else. We've got to begin to refocus ourselves, and refocusing ourselves is the town of Yorktown needs investment. It needs investment of new money. It needs reinvestment of the people that do have businesses in the town. We have to make things affordable. We can't. People's school tax bills went out, and they really are. I mean, awe-inspiring in terms of how much people are paying for school taxes. It really, and you can't sustain this over time.
Right.
And it has an all that fixed cost of living in the town of Yorktown has its impact. Has its impact on everybody. People are stressed. People, you're really having to have both parents out working all the time. Right. You need a double income in order to afford a home.
And then you have adult children living at home.
Yes, everything. So it's if you look at this past summer, it was very difficult to get kids that were in high school or college, or or out of college, or looking for just a little bit of a job for some money to go back to college with. So there's a lot of stresses, and the thing is, it's a national problem, but the thing is to sit here and wait for the federal government to do something about it is not the way we go. We have to do it on a town by town basis. So Yorktown, we're pushing hard to make those make the effort to make life in Yorktown, affordable, enjoyable, and give and round out the quality of it. So things are important. So there are initiatives that are extremely important and are getting a lot of attention. And the highway garage relocation is a big one. We did a little road trip the other day down to a green building, a green technology, which we want to incorporate in the new building, and we could do a state-of-the-art prototype of building up by our sewer plant, which could be very exciting because it'll use the refuse in the sewer and the composting piles and the energy that's put off by them to actually run the building. So we can do a methane recapture. We can capture the heat from the composting piles. We can do all sorts of things. So it's very exciting, just turning that trash or sewage into actual energy and using it to fuel the highway garage. So that's kind of exciting stuff, and we can be really on the cutting edge of technology. And if we do it, we probably can do it with the net income, with net money coming to the town, because of the sale of the highway garage property will be substantial. Should cover the cost of any new development in terms of a highway garage, and then some. So, but we're also looking, we put in an application for a grant with Greg Wall in order to do the Phase 2 study on the highway garage. And it's nice to have a state senator that works hard and plugs and fights for you at the state level. The same thing, it's nice to have a state assemblyman that goes up and, takes the time out to go, whether it was Terrence Murphy, myself, and Steve Katz to meet with DOT over the mall renovations. But things that are happening that we want to happen on a local level. 202 is not a dead issue. We're pushing that very hard. These things, my frustration is, I was talking to someone today that says, how do you like it? I said, well, I finally have I get frustrated with how government works. When I was outside of it, but now that I'm inside it, I think I'm even more frustrated. And they say, well, I am, they kind of chuckle, you are the government at this point. I said, you're right, and it still takes an enormous amount of time to work things through.
Yep.
Yorktown's fortunate; we got a good staff of professionals.
Right.
So hopefully, you'll start to hear a lot more of those things. And I'd love for people. I love that to be these things to be the topic of discussion.
I mean, have you gotten feedback, for example, I know like you've talked about, you can go online and see some reaction from people, but let's say about the highway garage, I mean, has there been any public
No,
feedback?
and this is the interesting part about it. I mean, here you have something that really is exciting.
Right.
Something that really could, people could sink their teeth into. It's not only exciting from a point of view of what it would do for, to resurrect the downtown Yorktown Heights area. You have the smart growth people who want pedestrian malls and the old Rockwellian kind of feel to York, to a downtown
Village Green.
Right. We would reclaim that, which was the center of Yorktown, which is where the old railroad turntable was, and everything else is now where the highway garage is. So we would reclaim that. So I would love to see their support and enthusiasm for that project. On the other hand, to relocate the highway garage and make it a green building with state-of-the-art green technology that sustains itself, on the sewage. And the sludge and it's kind of an interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And to be able to do all that and get the income coming into the town as a result.
Would be great. Yeah.
So you would hope that this is the stuff that gets the play out there.
Right.
Doesn't. What gets in the play out there is what's under the wood chips at the Holland Sporting Club. Where, where the tanks were removed, and they were removed 2007 or something like that, and a complaint about, where was the documentation? Well, I just happened to be filed in a different department than they originally thought, and so that's what gets play, and it's kind of unfortunate. And I'm going to tell you, it adds to the. There's a psychological impact of that. It adds to the malaise. It adds to people's disenchantment with government. It adds to disenchantment with what the general atmosphere out there. I think it's very important that you constantly switch the focus. It's one of the things that we do every week. What do we talk about? What goes on in town? What events are going on? Why? Because that's what needs, there's a lot of great things that go on with a lot of hard-working, committed, passionate people. That's what needs play. And that stuff catches fire after a while. And you really do have you start to move people's attitudes towards, just psychologically, we can accomplish good things and great things.
Right. And speaking of which, it's just worth mentioning quickly on your same point about this new Yorktown Alumni Association group of people who graduated from Yorktown High School and recently had
concert.
They had their concert at Yorktown Stage, and I was very happy. I didn't graduate to high school, but I was emceeing it, and it was a lot of fun. But they, up until the day of the concert, they sold 130 tickets, and then they doubled it on the day of the concert. But it's really what you're saying, which is, people get excited about these things, and they want to reconnect.
Right. And there is a lot of places where you can reconnect, and a lot of places where you can be part of your community. And I encourage people, one of our big initiatives, even with the Yorktown Organizations United, which is
which
another
we're going to get going again, right? Reignite.
But, you know, it's all these things. It creates a sense of community.
Right.
You know, it removes the cynicism out of the, you know, people's relationship with the local government. And I think those things are important. And I think communities can bootstrap themselves out of the doldrums, notwithstanding what happens on a more regional level, on a county level, on a state level, or on a national level. We can be the oasis in the whole storm.
Right.
You know, if we really want to do that, if we want, and we can do it. And
Right.
and the thing is, this is all, you know, a notion of being, you know, vigilant about a lot of things in life, and it's
Yes.
so. You have to constantly promote that. And it's unfortunate that, you know, I guess a lot of that maybe not have sex appeal to the media or whatever, but
Right.
which is, you know, which was what we all, you know, have to deal with. But
Right.
but the thing is that, and I think, you know, I would do respect to the local media. I mean, they do go out of their way to make sure that they have the calendar of events all the
Yes.
time and promote that, and it's good to see, But there's also, you know, a lot of, you know, nonsensical distractions.
Right.
But I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, it sort of comes to the territory, yeah,
And
right.
you deal with it. So, and it's my job, you know, really to, you know, handle that and
Right.
keep pushing the other.
And spin it the other way, right? And what about at the town board meeting, you were talking about this new recycling plan?
Yeah, well, we have someone that wants to do open up a recycling to the residential recyclables are picked up by our garbage collector
Right.
contractor, and those go to the county facility.
Right.
And we're really under contract. We have an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County to bring our stuff down to the MRF, the Center for Recycling. And in consideration for that, we get a different tipping fee rate for the kitchen garbage. And the interesting thing about it, and, you know, not that I want to kick this too much, but
Right.
there's a lot of money in recyclables, a lot,
right.
and the technology as far as separating them out, even to the different types of plastics, has become very sophisticated. And I think a lot of this stuff gets shipped overseas, believe it or not. So it's quite an enterprise. But
Right.
the commercial properties are not part of that. And so there's a big opportunity for processing commercial recyclables.
Oh, okay. Right.
And other things that aren't necessarily going down to the MRF plant. It's, you know, these things aren't without controversy. You know, in this economy,
Right.
you know, people's recyclables get rifled through.
Right. Right. Oh, yeah.
You
right.
know, and
right.
I think there was a woman not too long ago that was hit on the side of the road.
Oh, because she was going through them. Yeah. Oh.
So you just talk about, you know, the difference in economic times. I mean, you know,
Right, yeah.
You know, garbage has got
Bulk trash. That happens with bulk trash. Yeah.
Well, metal is valuable.
Right,
I mean,
yes,
you know,
right,
it's
right.
got a certain amount of, and it's covenanted. So
Right.
you don't, you know, your metal trash, your heavy iron and stuff like that is worth a lot, you know,
Right.
money.
Yep.
So if you put that out, it's not, it's, you know, the town is desirous of collecting it because we get
Right.
money for it.
Revenue. Yeah.
But so does you know, but it's often pirated off the side of the road.
Yes. Right.
So, you know, it's actually quite a fascinating industry. Anyhow, this gentleman wants to do a recycling processing facility.
As
So
a
it's-
business.
Yeah, no, it's not really, there's some concerns about odor and garbage. It's not,
Right.
it's not that type of.
It's on Route 6, right?
Yeah, the Navajo Industrial
Never
Park.
have. Yeah.
So it's not what it sounds like. It's not, but there's real money in it. So
Right.
if you have a facility where you can process, you know, and pick up and ship out recyclables.
Right.
So that really is a green industry at this
Oh,
point,
yeah.
which is a you know, one that it's a lucrative one as well.
That's part of the green.
Yeah, no,
There's a lot of green.
We'll be talking about garbage for a little bit now because we're getting to a little bit of a disagreement with the Department of Labor,
Right.
in regard to the
Prevailing wage.
on the garbage contract. So that will be interesting. And
Yeah.
I think this is it's funny, we did the last show on that, so I don't want to go too
Right.
long on it. But essentially, the grapevine scuttlebutt is, kind of what's Grace, why is Grace kicking this hornet's nest for?
Right.
But I think it's an important one to kick. And
Yeah.
actually, I'm kind of in an enviable position because I can kick it because I'm not, when you go further up the political ladder, I think the commitments or the connections between the upper level politics and unions makes raising these issues a little bit more difficult at
Right.
my level.
Yes.
It's a matter of really zealously representing my constituency, which
Right.
is the taxpayers of the town of Yorktown.
Right.
And so that's why I think it can be presented and pushed at my level much more easily than
Right.
it can be at the state level.
Yeah.
So, it should hopefully we'll get somewhere. We're waiting for a decision. We still haven't gotten that, but if we don't, we'll push the buttons on it. We have ways of doing that as
Right.
well. So,
Even further. Yeah.
but.
Okay.
No, we got it's there's a lot going on. I hope everybody enjoyed their summers. I enjoyed their last couple of weeks of August. We didn't have meetings.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's sort of like we're like the school administrators. We don't get the vacation that everybody else does. We still plug away, and actually, the summertime's a big opportunity for us to catch up on stuff that. Otherwise, we may not have the time to do. So we've been pushing a lot of these things. There'll be a letter going out down to the county from Yorktown. Signatories will be Yorktown, Cortland, Somers, and Peekskill, trying to elicit county help in regard to both traffic, road infrastructure, and sewer infrastructure.
Right. For the 202 corridor. Yeah.
Well, it's a 202 corridor, and also the idea is that the Peekskill Sanitary Sewer District, or more correctly, the Peekskill plant is designed for 10 million gallons a day. I think
Right.
it's only using 6.5. So there's excess capacity there,
Right.
and we have people that everybody knows that have failing systems and can't get into our own plant. And we have a certain amount of pump stations that have to be replaced and renovated. And rather than renovate them to pump to the old plant in trunk lines that are probably over capacity at this point, we have some opportunity and actually, which there's practical solutions to it. I mean, economically it works to take some of those pump stations that now send the sewer to the Halleck's Mill plant on Greenwood Street over to Peekskill. And it's not that much flow.
Right.
It really isn't. It doesn't
Right.
amount to a lot of flow, but it will amount to a lot of homes being taken out of the Halleck's Mill plant.
Right.
And would open up the Halleck's Mill plant now for new taps, which would then allow us to sewer those people that haven't been sewered and have been waiting for sewers for a long
Right.
time up in the Sparkle Lake neighborhood.
Yep.
Up in there. We could really have an opportunity to actually get them done.
And also on Gomer, right?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Gomer,
Right. And they've been looking for them for a long, long time. And we're at 1.5 million gallon capacity for surface discharge at the plant now, which means that the plant discharges to surface water, which
Right.
is the Halleck's Mill, which then has us within 60-day traveling time of the Croton Reservoir. So we're really, I don't know, the people in the Bronx that are drinking Croton Reservoir water want to hear this, but, it's like you don't, where you eat, but we actually do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah.
We
Right.
treat it, I mean, it's a tertiary, treatment.
Right.
But, and actually the water coming out of the plant is probably better than the water,
Right.
the quality in the stream downstream of the plant is better than the water quality upstream of the
Right.
plant. So the water that's coming out of the plant actually improves the quality of the water
Right.
in the stream. So it's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
Plus, the wildlife contributes an awful lot of fecal matter into the
Right.
into the drinking water. But all that being said, it still doesn't make a lot of sense to be taking sewage and dumping it into a tributary to the Croton Reservoir,
Right.
where you have an opportunity to take it and bring it to the brine in the Hudson. So what holds that up is what the arrangements are with the configuration of the Peekskill Sanitary Sewer District. But there's a lot of capacity there. And that capacity has existed for quite a period of time.
Right.
It's existed for the whole period of time. Well, all these towns have been discussing what to do, especially Yorktown, what to do with its sewerage, and they can't get into its plan. So there would seem to be a logical solution to it, which is to bring it over to Peekskill. The last go around on this was the cry of environmental racism, which
Right.
I didn't quite follow, especially since you're sending your effluent into the Croton, into the drinking water that, I'm sure
Right.
people of color are also drinking that water, rather than sending it to the brine and the Peekskill, where, I don't know, I never followed the logic of that argument. Anyhow, so, as a result of the last go-around, diversion became the dirty word.
Right.
So I'm really been kind of scolded not to call it diversion, so I have to call it something else. So I don't know.
What else do you call it?
I know. Relocation.
Yeah, right. Rerouting.
It's just a relo.
Right.
But the Peekskill's got traffic issues. Cortland's got traffic issues.
Right.
Peekskill's traffic issues are only going to be resolved by, Cortland's cooperation or lack of resistance, maybe, in terms of bringing truck traffic onto the Bear Mountain. But if truck traffic gets onto the Bear Mountain, that truck traffic is all that traffic that's going to bypass Peekskill is going to end up coming off the Bear Mountain, either at Route 6 or 202.
Right.
So Yorktown may bear a burden there. So I think we have interests in cooperating, because Peekskill traffic's problem is going to be our problem.
Right.
Our problem on 202 is Peekskill probably holds a solution to that as well, partial solution. And the bottom line is we all have to understand what our common interests are. We're united in interest in creating a vibrant northern Westchester.
Right.
We're united in interest with Peekskill's success.
Right.
Peekskill's united in interest with our success. And it's we all have our jurisdictions and our bailiwicks. But the bottom line is that on certain issues, regional cooperation isn't always in our best interest. So we're at this point, the 4 municipalities have agreed to be co-signatories on a letter to the county to elicit their help in trying to start to look at these problems. And a lot of, these things have been, irony, this has been going on for, it's a sustainable development study, I think, was early in Linda Cooper's administration. So that's 12, it's got to be 18, maybe 20 years ago, they started the discussion, and everything kind of got held up, and they spent $3 million on studying this thing. Literally, and $3 million, back 17, 18 years ago. If you did that with the present value of that million,
Right, adjusting it, yeah. That's
you could have built the extra 2 lanes on 202.
Yeah,
For the money it cost in the studies. And I say that some semi-facetiously, but not really. But the bottom line is that it's time to.
Maybe it's Linda Cooper calling. Right?
No, it's my darling daughter. So it's rather than everybody kind of, and this is my frustration with government. Everybody kind of sits around and, twiddles their thumbs and say, well, gee, if only we could get back through this bottleneck and, we could do something. And it's been a really good exercise for my staff, because I think we had one meeting, I'm going to quit real quick, about the highway garage. And we talked about, well, what do we need to do when we get it up there? And, environmental issues, we got DEP, DEC, blah, 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 blah. And one of my staff members said, boy, we got to go through this. I said, And imagine if you're an applicant before the town of Yorktown on something, not only do you have that alphabet soup to go through, but you also have to go through us as well.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and if, people want to know why, why your taxes are so high, why, things are so difficult to do, well, there lies your explanation.
Right.
So, you want to do things correct. There's no question about it. You don't want to shortcut things, but you
Right.
don't want to beat things to death as well.
Right. Yeah.
And, very interesting, I can keep going on, but very interesting. We went to a Tappan Zee Bridge information meeting.
Right.
It was sponsored by Joe Visconti and the Chamber of Commerce. And they
Right.
decided that they needed to do these environmental reviews, and they limited it to certain, and they expedited it, and they did this whole new system of doing these environmental reviews to expedite the whole process. And they were able to accomplish it because, well, it's the power of the state. They want to get it done.
Right.
So it gets done. The thing is if that is, the state can do it for itself, it should be able to do it for everybody else as well.
Right.
And, and my point is, did the state learn lessons, and, in terms of procedure?
Right.
And being able to say, look, this is something that, needs to be done. But that's leadership. Cuomo wanted to get it done. It's getting done.
Right.
It's a priority. He's not letting go. He's going to be a pit bull about it. He's got it in his teeth, and he's going to get it done. Well, with that kind of resolve, things do get done.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and that's the kind of resolve you need at every level of government. And once you
Right.
start to get that, you'll cut through the crap. You'll cut through the waste. You'll cut through the excess time, which is just money being spent.
Right.
And jobs not being created. And so, but it takes, it's part of it's the attitude.
Right.
You need to, to look at it with the right attitude, and then you can get things done. So hopefully, the process is slow, even on the local level, but things are happening. I don't want to just,
Yeah.
and,
a lot of happening.
and hopefully we'll get some involvement, and we'd love to hear from the people that I can tell you there's no shortage of detractors and what I call the drive-by muck throwers. But it's nice every once in a while we get a meeting, and we have people that are out here because they're frustrated and they want to see a change and they want to see things moving, and it's good to hear from them as well.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. And that's it for this show. Again, you might want to tune in. Next time we're going to have the folks from the Justin Veach Fund on, and they'll be talking about all their great activities. Yeah. And soon we're going to have Yorktown Chamber President Joe Visconti, who will be here to talk about, of course, the big October 7th Street Festival. And, of course, we'll talk a lot of other business topics with Joe. And you have been watching Grace Notes with Yorktown Supervisor Michael Grace. I'm Bruce Apar, Chase Media Group. Be sure to catch us next time and every time, because Yorktown is your town. Thank you.